Hey guys, Quigon Quasar here, back again with another Mass Effect Andromeda video, and I'm going to be talking about something that I think would be like a really cool addition to Mass Effect Andromeda, kind of a DLC, I guess, kind of a multiplayer DLC into one of those sort of videos. Now, what I'll be talking about today is, in fact, multiplayer nomad races in Andromeda. Yeah, you heard me right, the Nomad. Do you remember the awesome all-terrain vehicle that was, you know, like a 100% upgrade over the Mako in Mass Effect 1? That's in Andromeda, the all-terrain vehicle in Andromeda. I would love to see multiplayer races, like, you know, online races with other people in Andromeda with those things. I think it will be fun as hell. And here's why. Let me convince you before you go like, oh no, that would make a terrible idea. I'll make a terrible addition to the game. Now, I think Nomad Races would bring a whole new kind of multiplayer experience to Andromeda. Andromeda's multiplayer is great. I really do like it. And, you know, I think I made 117 videos in Andromeda's multiplayer. I wouldn't have made that many if I didn't like the game. I really wouldn't. I would have made 2, maybe 3, but not 116 or 17 videos in Mass Effect Andromeda's multiplayer. I love it, but even I can see that it's quite repetitive. The multiplayer, that is, not the campaign or single player. I'm talking about the multiplayer. Now, the multiplayer is rather repetitive. There's, you know, the lack of variation in match objectives and game modes is really quite dull, in my opinion. And they didn't really expand upon it from Mass Effect 3. In Mass Effect 3, it was the same problem. Like, it was just, oh, kill enemies, then the wave changes. Now you've got to, you know, capture an objective. Sorry, you guys just had to stare at my awful accuracy then. I haven't used this goddamn sniper rifle in a long time. But yeah, there's a great lack of gameplay objectives and sort of match directives, I guess you could call them, or, you know, points of the multiplayer matches. There's a lack of them, really. They do become quite stale. They have become quite stale with the Mass Effect Andromeda's multiplayer. In my opinion, obviously, it's down to personal opinion, but in my opinion, that is the case. Now, the Nomad vehicle from the campaign, in my opinion, again, is really well designed. Like, from a game mechanics standpoint and point of view, it's very well designed. Like, it just feels amazing. It feels very satisfying. It's much like the actual combat of Mass Effect Andromeda. It's very smooth. It's very fluid. It is the opposite of everything that the Mako was. For any of you guys that played Mass Effect 1, it's the opposite of the Mako from Mass Effect 1, which was the supposed all-terrain vehicle from Mass Effect 1. It's the opposite of that in every way, and the upgrade in every way. It's very, very good. And I really enjoy it. I do really enjoy using the Mako, and I think that it's, you know, it's so satisfying to drive that it would make like a really cool racing vehicle, and that's why I believe it would be great as like an addition, or as the focus of a new multiplayer game mode in Andromeda. Nomad Racing. I think Nomad Racing would, you know, completely revamp and refreshen the somewhat repetitive multiplayer. Like I said, it is quite repetitive. I think it would, you know, offer a complete, not just a tiny little bit of a hint of like, you know, freshening it up, or like a little bit of a refresh, like a completely new overhaul. I'm not saying get rid of the normal multiplayer, I'm saying add another mode, because, you know, there's only really one mode. Add another mode, it really wouldn't take that much. The mechanics are already in the game of the Nomad. You really only need to build the track and then, you know, actually build the option into the menu. Probably a little bit more work goes into it than what I've just said. I've probably, you know, sort of downplayed it a little bit. But I think what I'm saying is it'll be a great source of fun and enjoyable gameplay, whilst also being, you know, multiplayer, so it could connect people. It could, you know, offer, you know, chances for BIOWARE to receive like money from in-game purchases. You know, like the different skins and stuff like that, or, you know, like Andromeda points. It'll be another way of making money via that, so it's good for Andromeda, and at the same time it will be fun as hell for, you know, players to use. I do think, and obviously, like I said, it would be multiplayer, so it wouldn't be exactly the same as the campaign. It would offer like a completely new unlock system, you know, where you can unlock different multiplayer skins and designs for your vehicle, and potentially, you know, like upgrades that change the behavior of your vehicle, such as like mods, you know, like weapon mods with, in this case, Nomad mods that increase sheer power, but, you know, say like decrease handling quality, something like that. So, you know, balancing things, sort of balancing factors that would make it, the whole sort of game mode, a little bit more enjoyable, and, you know, overall, you know, sort of put a twist on it and make it a little bit more diverse. Now, I think some kind of like combat racing combo involving like several players will be awesome. So even if it's just like 4 players, like, you know, the normal multiplayer is, if it was sort of like not just racing, but sort of combat focused as well, so you have to, you know, sort of ramming them off the map, or, you know, ramming them into a wall or into an explosive or something like that, or maybe you can drop, you know, some kind of explosive behind you, stuff like that. That's sounding awfully like Mario Kart in that sense. I'm not talking about like dropping slippery bananas behind you. I'm talking like bombs and stuff. I think that'd be pretty damn cool. It would, what I'm saying is like a combat slash racing sort of focused game. It would be pretty damn awesome, I think. I think. Now, it would be really cool to be like set it on like an action-packed track, not just like a stretch down the desert. And, oh yeah, we're doing a freaking quarter-mile race. I think on an action-packed track, that has like loads of variation, loads of action going on, loads of things, happening. Maybe one that takes place on like a crumbling asteroid, and you have to dodge parts of asteroid debris, or like maybe, the tropical jungles of, I think it's Havari? Havari, is that right? Or Haval? I can't remember what it's called. But the jungle planet from the campaign, maybe there's like a track that you could get, like a muddy sort of off-road track through that forest that you could take, and then, along the way, Adhi, those goddamn space dogs that you always see me fighting off in my videos, in my multiplayer videos. Maybe they try and attack you, or launch on or latch on to your vehicle. I think that would be pretty damn cool. I think that would be pretty damn awesome. Now the Nomad race mode could unlock special items for standard multiplayer. So it could unlock like exclusive character skins, or exclusive weapons, or like an extra weapon mod that you could only access or only unlock via this mode, and vice versa. So you could unlock certain things for that Nomad racing mode by playing normal multiplayer, and then it's sort of interlinked, and sort of one's not going to take away from the the spark of the other, and one's not going to take away from the attention of the other. And it is lore friendly. It is lore friendly. I'm not talking about like the Pathfinders would, the Pathfinders, or Spectres, or straight up soldiers would just sit around racing nomads. I'm not saying that's lore friendly, but I'm saying it seems like something like the Outlaw faction would do. The Outlaws from the multiplayer and from the single player. It seems like something they'd do. Obviously, they probably don't have super, unlimited access to nomad vehicles because they're so high tech and expensive. But something like that, it seems like something they would do. Some kind of like desert death race or something along the line. So I do think it's actually lore friendly. Anyway, that's basically it. That's all my convincing points. I just think it would be a pretty damn cool thing. I've been thinking about some sort of suggestions or ideas that I could float out there in my videos of it, like a new multiplayer mode. There's a low chance there will ever be a new multiplayer mode added to Mass Effect Andromeda Multiplayer. But you never know if enough people agree and enough people say the same thing. BioWare is probably going to be inclined to listen and add such a thing. Maybe not Nomad Racing. That was just sort of an example that I hope gets made, but that was an example, and I'm hoping that this is sort of like a catalyst or an example of how much players would want brand new game modes to freshen up the multiplayer, and if not in Mass Effect Andromeda, in any potential future Mass Effect games. Because basically Andromeda, whilst the multiplayer is great and everything, and it really is great in my opinion, I think most people would agree that it's great. It's very similar to Mass Effect 3. By way of like gameplay mechanics, they've switched up, movement mechanics, combat mechanics, made the actual gameplay a lot more fun in terms of like blasting space dogs' faces off like I just did then. But they haven't actually, changed up like the plot of it, or what you do is just stand there, kill enemies, horde mode, same old horde mode type of thing. Then go and capture that freaking package, get it back to base, and then that was that. And the thing is, the objectives and like the wave objectives were actually slightly more intensive and slightly more comprehensive in Mass Effect 3 than Andromeda. I don't get why, but I think there was like a couple more objectives that you could do. It's slightly more expansive, only a tiny little bit, but it was slightly more expansive in Mass Effect 3's multiplayer. So you can definitely tell that the Andromeda multiplayer is quite restricted when it's not as sort of open and expansive as the previous game's multiplayer. But yeah, that's my idea. I would very much like to see any a new mode of any kind, really. But something like this, I think, would be very cool. Something that isn't just the same as normal multiplayer. They could just add a new wave objective where you go in and have to punch a guy in the face or something, fist fight or something. That was a bad example. I was just thinking off the top of my head. But they could add, a tiny minor change, or they could add something like this that, would completely, turn it like a whole new leaf for the multiplayer. And completely, I think it would make them a lot of money, and it will be a massive, yet pretty easy. Obviously, you can probably tell I'm not the smartest dude ever, and I'm not a game developer, but I think it would be pretty easy to implement such a thing to the game, simply because most of the sort of the mechanics of the Nomad and of what you need to race the Nomad, they're already kind of in the game. They're kind of in the game. The only thing you really need to do is the matchmaking and allowing multiple people to use them in one match and obviously create the actual tracks. I don't know what the hell has happened with that guy glitched in the ground. How the hell am I going to kill him? But yeah, that's everything that I've really got by way of like persuasion for why we should have a mode like that. If you have any, opinions or recommendations, maybe you have an opinion similar to it, or, let me know what you think of my opinion, my ideas that I've given you today in the comments. Obviously, I'm very intrigued to see what you guys think and what you guys say. Anyway, if you enjoyed, definitely leave a like. It would really help me out, and I would really appreciate it. If you want to see any more of my videos, definitely stick around and subscribe. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next video.